Welcome to Scotland, a land where nature and history have written a legend. There are places in the world that captivate us with their modern skylines. There are destinations celebrated for monumental architecture or cities that never seem to sleep. But there are also places where the greatest wonder is not what humanity has built, but what time itself has created. Scotland is one of those places. This is a land where every mountain was born from violent collisions deep within the Earth's crust hundreds of millions of years ago. Every valley was carved by colossal glaciers that once blanketed much of northern Europe. Every dark, silent loch holds mysteries that science has yet to fully explain. And every ancient castle still stands as a silent witness to the rise and fall of kingdoms, wars for independence, and the defining moments that shaped an entire nation. In the northern reaches of the United Kingdom, Scotland feels like a world apart, a place where the Atlantic Ocean crashes endlessly against towering sea cliffs, where dense mist can swallow an entire mountain in a matter of minutes, where sunlight changes by the hour, transforming the very same valley into a completely different landscape before the day is over. It is this unforgiving environment that has given rise to one of Europe's most extraordinary natural ecosystems. From the last surviving remnants of the ancient Caledonian pine forests to vast, windswept highlands where golden eagles rule the skies and herds of red deer have roamed freely across the mountains for thousands of years. Yet Scotland's greatest allure extends far beyond its breathtaking landscapes. It is a country where history and legend are so deeply intertwined that separating one from the other becomes almost impossible. Here, stories of Highland warriors, powerful clans, legendary kings, bloody battles, and the mysterious creature said to inhabit Loch Ness have been passed down through generations, becoming part of Scotland's living identity. Some of these legends are products of imagination. Others were born from the country's dramatic landscapes, unpredictable weather, and natural phenomena that ancient civilizations could never fully understand. Perhaps that is why Scotland feels both familiar and mysterious at the same time. It is a place where every path seems to lead into another chapter of history. A land where every ruined fortress, every lonely glen, and every stretch of rugged coastline carries echoes of lives that once shaped the nation. It is also a place where nature has never truly belonged to humanity, and humanity has never completely conquered nature. Yet what makes Scotland truly remarkable is the way it preserves its memory. While many countries have sacrificed their past in pursuit of modern development, Scotland has chosen a different path. Its centuries-old cobbled streets still wind through medieval neighborhoods. Ancient castles continue to stand proudly atop volcanic cliffs overlooking the North Sea. Quiet villages remain tucked away beside sheltered bays, where life seems to move at a gentler rhythm than the rest of the modern world. Together, they create a nation where history has never been abandoned. It continues to live alongside the present. Throughout today's journey, we won't simply admire beautiful scenery. We will follow the immense glaciers that sculpted the very foundation of Scotland. Explore cities built upon extinct volcanoes that shaped their destiny. Stand atop mighty fortresses that once determined the fate of kings and kingdoms. Cross vast highland landscapes where distance is measured not by miles but by wind, light, and endless horizons. Travel to remote islands scattered across the Atlantic, where generations of people learned to survive against the overwhelming power of nature. And along the way, we will discover that Scotland's beauty is not merely found in what we see. And every journey becomes an invitation to step beyond the present and into one of Europe's most extraordinary stories. Welcome to Scotland, where the wind still whispers the voices of the past, where every cliff bears the fingerprints of an ancient earth, and where every road leads not only across a remarkable landscape, but deep into one of the greatest historical and natural epics ever written. Edinburgh, the capital that nature built long before humans arrived. Most of Europe's great capitals owe their existence to mighty rivers. Paris grew along the Seine. London flourished beside the Thames. Budapest was shaped by the Danube. Edinburgh, however, tells a very different story. Its foundation was forged not by water, but by fire. Around 340 million years ago, this landscape was a place of extraordinary geological violence. Molten lava surged repeatedly from deep beneath the Earth's crust, building immense volcanic formations that would eventually become the bedrock of one of Europe's most remarkable cities. Then time took over. The volcanoes fell silent. Ice ages swept across Scotland, burying much of the land beneath glaciers hundreds of meters thick. For tens of thousands of years, these colossal rivers of ice moved slowly across the landscape, grinding away softer rock, carving deep valleys, and dramatically reshaping the terrain. When the glaciers finally retreated, very little of the original landscape remained. Only the hardest volcanic rock survived the relentless forces of erosion. One of those surviving formations was Castle Rock. Rising nearly 120 meters above the surrounding land, this ancient volcanic plug is far more than a geological curiosity. It is the very reason Edinburgh exists. Viewed from above, the city's landscape resembles a natural fortress that nature completed millions of years before the first human settlement ever appeared. Steep cliffs defend the western side. Glacial valleys protect both flanks. To the east, a long ridge stretches outward like a natural bridge connecting the volcanic summit to the lower ground beyond. Geologists refer to this remarkable landform as a crag and tail. It was created when advancing glaciers eroded softer rock while leaving the resistant volcanic core intact. Although this type of formation is relatively rare worldwide, it became the perfect foundation upon which an entire capital city would rise. For Scotland's earliest settlers, there could hardly have been a more strategic location. Massive defensive walls were almost unnecessary. Nature had already built them. From the summit of Castle Rock, approaching enemies could be spotted from miles away across the surrounding plains. In an age when the survival of a kingdom often depended on seeing an invading army before it arrived, this natural advantage was more valuable than any fortress engineers could have designed. Gradually, a settlement began to grow, not randomly, but in harmony with the shape of the volcanic ridge itself. From the fortress atop Castle Rock, a single road extended eastward. Over centuries, that road evolved into the famous Royal Mile, connecting Edinburgh Castle with the Palace of Holyrood House at the opposite end of the ridge. Stone houses gradually filled both sides of the street. With little room to expand outward, residents were forced to build upward instead. As a result, medieval Edinburgh became one of Europe's earliest cities to develop multi-story residential buildings, long before the concept of the modern apartment block ever existed. Today, a walk through Edinburgh's Old Town still reveals how profoundly geology shaped every corner of the city. Steep streets rise and fall with the contours of the land. Stone staircases appear unexpectedly between centuries-old buildings. Walking through Edinburgh is far more than a sightseeing experience. It is a journey through layers of geology, centuries of history, and the evolution of an entire civilization. Yet perhaps the city's greatest achievement is that it never became trapped in its own past. Step beyond the medieval Old Town, and the atmosphere changes almost instantly. The streets grow wider. The public squares become more symmetrical. Elegant rows of pale sandstone buildings reflect the order and balance of neoclassical architecture. Leaving behind the ancient streets of Edinburgh, we begin to realize that this city is only the opening chapter in Scotland's story. Beyond its medieval walls and historic landmarks lies a vast land where nature continues to shape every aspect of life. This is a Scotland of ancient mountains that have stood for hundreds of millions of years, of endless rolling highlands stretching toward distant horizons, of deep, silent lochs reflecting ever-changing skies, of the last surviving remnants of primeval forests that endured long after the Ice Age, and of thousands of kilometers of rugged coastline where the Atlantic Ocean continues to carve new marks into the rocks with every passing tide. The climate here reflects the very character of Scotland itself: harsh, unpredictable, yet remarkably full of life. A single day may begin beneath clear blue skies, shift suddenly into rain, disappear beneath drifting mist, and end with powerful winds sweeping in from the sea. It is this constant transformation that gives Scotland its extraordinary beauty. The same mountain, valley, or coastline can appear completely different from one hour to the next, as changing light paints an ever-evolving landscape. Perhaps that is why Scotland has never been a destination for hurried travelers. It is a country that gently encourages you to slow down, to listen to the wind sweeping across the hills, to watch light and shadow dance over ancient cliffs, and to appreciate a landscape that has been sculpted by hundreds of millions of years of geological history. Many nations impress visitors with magnificent cities or monumental architecture. Scotland captivates people in an entirely different way. Its greatest masterpiece is nature itself, a land where geology, climate, history, and culture have merged together over countless ages to create a landscape unlike almost anywhere else on Earth. Edinburgh has introduced us to Scotland's remarkable past. But what lies ahead will reveal an entirely different side of this extraordinary country. A Scotland that is wilder, more remote, more powerful, and infinitely more breathtaking. For it is there that nature truly becomes the storyteller.